Listening to your testimony, Ms. Dean, and I find it interesting that some of the things you quoted there about how this will harm people to go to work. I grew up dirt poor. I mean, my father had an 8th grade education. He's blind in one eye, and I was able to get out of that situation by working, not by going on a government program. What I want to point out to you is work requirements were implemented in Kansas, the state of Kansas. And I just want to read some of the results. There's Jason, who was previously unemployed, was on food stamps for 4 years. After the work requirements, he got a job and he's earning $45,000 a year. Do you have a problem with that? I didn't think you did. Amy was previously unemployed. She's on food stamps for 2 years. She's now earning $27,000 a year. Matt was on food stamps 3 years. He's now earning $34,000 a year. Sarah was on for 3 years. She's earning $37,000 a year, and I could go on. And, you know, the thing that really bothers me about all this is that it comes across to me that some folks really do want to see people remain dependent on the government. And that, I just can't believe it. I mean, I'm going through the Farm Bill. I've read the provisions in it for the improvements in SNAP and giving people the ability to stay on food stamps while they're getting job training or getting a job or volunteering. And it's just beyond my comprehension that anybody would oppose that for able-bodied adults without children. I've even heard one of my colleagues say that it would violate child labor laws. And I just want to emphasize, this is able-bodied adults without children. It doesn't violate any child labor laws. I tell you, the opposition to it violates the laws of common sense. I really believe that. Mr. Adolphson, one of the reasons the current work requirements in SNAP have been largely ineffective is the widespread use of waivers, as you pointed out. And I think in one of the, I think it's the GAO report, Ms. Laren, you point out that only about 0.5% actually took advantage of the training. Out of 43 million people, only about 200,000, is that correct?
Yeah, 0.5% of SNAP recipients participated in the SNAP ENT program. You know, the vast majority of SNAP recipients are not able-bodied adults. Many are exempt from work requirements. Those include children, the elderly, the disabled. Mm-hmm. But 15% were work registrants in 2016.
That'd be about 6 million, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
15% of 43 million is a little over 6 million. My point here is that there's right now about 6 million available jobs. If that 15% of able-bodied who do no work entered into the workforce, we could pretty well fill those positions and still provide the benefits to the people who truly need them, the disabled, the people, low-income families with children. So what we're really trying to do is one other statistic on this that gets me is that I believe about 63% of the people who are on food stamps, Mr. Dawson, correct me if I'm wrong, are under 35 years old. Is that correct? No, no, a little over half. A little over 50% of the people who are on food stamps, on SNAP benefits, are under 35. Is that correct?
That sounds right, Congressman.
Yeah, and I think a little over 40% of those are men. It's the guy that was sitting on the front porch, Mr. Chairman, drinking, you said a cup of coffee, may have been drinking a beer, I don't know, I didn't drive by. But that really bothers me. And again, having grown up the way I did and knowing that the only way out of that situation is a good job, a good paying job. As my colleague from Illinois pointed out, that is the best anti-poverty program, is a good paying job. It's the best thing you do for an individual's health. Would you agree with that, Mr. Adolphson?
Yeah, I think we've seen the results in states that have brought work requirements back into play. In my home state of Maine, just a year after implementing that requirement, the incomes of those individuals that left food stamps more than doubled in just 1 year. You mentioned Kansas. We've seen that work. I think people aren't participating in ENT because it's not required. It's typically done only as a voluntary thing, and there's no penalty if they don't work or if they don't participate.
Mr. Chairman, my time's expired. I just want to close with this, that as a result of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we now have record unemployment. We've got higher wages. There are over 6 million job openings, and the economy is poised to grow at an even greater pace. And I can't think of a better time than this right now to help low-income families get out of poverty, get off government dependence, and get a job and really get themselves onto a brighter future. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.